To have Casey Worley here today as our speaker. She is a resident of Southington. She's been in business in Southington for quite a few years, and now she's an author. So she's here today to talk about a very important topic that she has written about, and has given some very good insight as to how to alleviate the problem. Casey?
Thank you for having me. Lunch was wonderful, especially when someone else cooks it for you. I don't know what that feels like. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so I find it kind of apropos that I was invited this month to be here. I thought I would just give a quick little bit of background. I was born in Meriden, Bob in June. I was their third child, their first daughter. There were 6 of us all together. We had 2 older brothers, 2 younger brothers, and a younger sister. I also am, as Don said, I'm a salon owner, but I'm also a lifestyle coach. It's like a second business. I detox the bodies, and I help you be beautiful from the inside out. I also offer the Iron Plants foot bath, and I'm a single mom. I have a 21-year-old son, Michael. He's in his 4th year of college at Central, and he's 6'5" and 218 pounds. I don't find it a coincidence that, coming from what I come from, that my child picked criminal justice. On his college entry essay, he wrote, I want to be the one that's called upon to help women and children. That still gets me 4 years later, sorry. When I was a little girl, I don't remember many good things from living in my mother's home. Our father left when the baby was 6 months old, or he was asked to leave, I'm not sure on that. I was appointed or had to care for the home and my siblings. Before the age of 10, I babysat, cooked, cleaned, did laundry, changed diapers, whatever it took. We were pretty poor. Didn't really know where the next meal came from. I remember one day we were all out playing and I was starving, and I went to get something to eat, and all I could find was a heel of bread and ketchup. So I don't know if we ate dinner that night or not, but we're all pretty healthy. So I did move out at the age of 16 to escape the hells of my childhood. What I was enduring on all levels was unacceptable. Just prior to me moving out, I was given the nickname Casey. A doctor gave it to me. He couldn't understand why such a young girl, 15, would have high blood pressure and edema and things like that. And I remember being petrified to be in that office because I thought he was going to know my secret. A secret that I thought it was told if anyone knew, I would have to go to the bad girls' school. So when he called me Casey for the first time, I readily took on that new identity. I thought if I had a new name, that Kathleen could just die. That little frightened girl would just go away. But that wasn't the case. I carried her around for the next 40, 50 years. In fact, she's still with me. But when she does pop up, I try to comfort her and love her and give her what she didn't get as a child. On that very frightening evening when I told my mother I had moved out, she didn't believe me. She took her boyfriend's side, and she didn't speak to me for years. But what I do know now, she's always done her best, and I could just imagine what her story would be like. I did get myself through high school, and I graduated on the honor roll, but I was devastated to learn that there was no school for me to become an accountant to walk to. So I did the next best thing. I went to hairdressing school. It was right downtown. I got a little room efficiency and did well. Got a job close by. Then I got a 2-room. Then I got a 3-room. Then I got a junk car. Then got a little better car. And I eventually moved to Southington. I was in my 20s. I had a cupboards full of food. That was huge. I was managing a salon, put money on a condo, and I was driving around town in a brand new red convertible Mustang. I was happening. So life was good, so I thought. At the time I was dating my son's father, and it was about 5 years into it, and it wasn't feeling like it should be feeling. I didn't see the little house and the picket fence in the future. So I decided I'm going to go to therapy. That annoyed the hell out of me because they wanted me to sign a contract for 12 weeks. Little did I know what that 12 weeks was going to bring me. I left every week crying about my mother. And I said, this is stupid. I'm not here about that. I'm here about this relationship. Down the road, though, I realized I'm not so mad at her. But that was the very place, at 35 years old, I heard the word dysfunctional for the first time. I had to go look it up. And again, devastated to learn from Webster that dysfunctional means abnormal and impaired. Oh my God, I come from that? And it was about 4 hours later when I knew that Tony came from the same thing. And the bigger it got, the more I felt like I was diagnosed with an incurable cancer. I knew a therapy session or two was not going to cure this. In hindsight, that was the beginning of me crawling out. My book takes you through the painstaking journey of bringing it all up, all that I've endured. I acknowledge it, I honor it, I release it, and I master the art of forgiveness. My story is about survival, growth, one resilient child with guts and gumption, strength, and a journey of faith. It gives the reader an example of how, as children, our surroundings shape the beliefs we hold in our subconscious mind. The negative beliefs we observed in adults and get involuntarily programmed. For me, dismissed and devalued, not good enough, not doing a good enough job, was always the way it went. Those disempowering thoughts became debilitating. I'm often asked how long of a journey this book writing was. This January will be 8 years. I originally sat down at my kitchen table. I used to say when my little guy slept, but at 6'5", I don't think I could say little guy anymore. And I hand wrote on my old trusty old legal pad. When I first sat there, I'm also told, like, I don't live in the real world. Not everybody's as nice as you think, and things like that. I choose to think they are. And in those little naive way of my thinking, I thought, well, if I could just help one woman that walks in my shoe, I can't be the only one that has this secret. But when I wrote about the time of 35 and the dysfunctional, I realized, wait a minute, now there's a new group, the ones that don't know they're in it. How do you get out of something you don't know you're in? 5 years into it, I was in New York at a Hay House conference. Louise Hay is one of the largest authors on self-help, and she has the biggest self-help publishing company in the world. Her books and her authors were the beginning of me change the way I think and see things. But when I started, I learned there that you have to be building a platform and do social media, and I'm like, oh. So on my way home on the train, I said, well, I better start telling my clients. All of them were shocked what Miss Casey was up to the last 5 years. But I learned from them, there are people who do live the gilded life. They do exist. So they have no idea that those first two groups exist. The past 3 years, I've also been involved with domestic violence trainings and CCABV, and I see many people working hard in the forefront. But some of them I see are just blank. You know, it's a job. So I hope they read my book and they take it from the intellectual and bring it to their belly. So there's group 4. And I'm learning all the time through this journey. Some say, what a sad story, or what a rough life you had. None of that is my intention. I see my book as a tool. It sheds a new light on what's going on all around us, nudges people to a new awareness, certainly a reality check, and it gives some permission to unmask the secrecy, to shed the shame and guilt that was never theirs to carry. It will educate, inspire, for some it validates. It'll make you laugh. I'm told often that my chapter titles are quite funny, and they are. It'll make you cry. And it shows the insight of how difficult it is to reprogram the subconscious mind. The confusion that goes on, the chatter in survivors' minds that go on forever and ever, the back and forth, the one step forward, the one step backward. Who's right, who's wrong? It's a nudge to those who don't know they're in it, and it's a message to those who do that they don't walk alone. Susan from Prudence Crandall is a new friend and colleague. At my book launch, she put it like this: it's about a courageous woman whose book is saving lives. Every time I say that, I get goosebumps. It affirms that I'm on track and I'm doing God's work. Recently at a CCADV conference, it was a whole day thing, I met Professor Holden. He had a list of 10 forms of abuse. Now, even after writing the book I just wrote, I was surprised what's on it. The usual physical, sexual, and psychological. Watching mother being abused, parents separating, family members on drugs, family members on alcohol abuse, family members with mental illness or in jail. The last one got me. Neglect. Kind of like kicked me in the stomach. That was one that I never thought of, but yes, there's so many children that are neglected and what that toll it takes on them. Professor Holden states 46 million children a year are affected, and he believes it's even higher than that. He says they're traumatized, terrorized, emotionally confused, and it's a common source of their distress. 1 out of 4 women and 1 out of 7 men endure some kind of abuse. Just in the town of Southington alone, with its statistics of 45,000, we have the potential of 15,000 women and 6,500 men right here in our cute little town. In the U.S. alone, every 15 seconds a woman is battered by an intimate partner. More than 3 women a day are murdered. Over 2 million injuries each year, and I know those are ones brave enough to get that far, because they might not live after they get back home. And it's serious to me is 16 to 24 years of age are at the highest risk. Children who witness intimate partner violence within their family face the greatest risk of developing severe and potentially lifelong problems with physical health, mental health, school and peer relationship problems, and disruptive behavior. Exposure to this type of violence in the home leaves them more susceptible to becoming either a victim or an abuser as an adult. This one hit home. Witnessing DV can destroy a child's core sense of security and trust, create deep feelings of helplessness, guilt, and shame when they can't make it all stop. One night when I couldn't sleep, the 700 Club taught me 85% of people in prison come from fatherless homes. Dave Pelzer, have anyone heard of him? A Child Called It, he wrote. That story is his own story. It's California's worst case of child abuse in history. He states 96% grow up and repeat history. It is critical that we break the cycle of abuse. It's an epidemic many do not want to talk about. I have just earlier said about the pat on the back. When I got my editorials report from my publisher, this was the biggest pat on the back I had in a while, so I'd love to read this to you. This manuscript is a compelling story of the horrific suffering the author endured through domestic abuse and her journey toward healing, freedom, and wholeness. In vivid, evocative language, she captures readers' attention from the first word and keeps them riveted throughout her story. She eloquently conveys her emotional as well as physical experience, which gives readers the sense that they are living her story themselves, and speaks with such raw honesty without 1 ounce of self-pity. The title, Crawling Out, is clever and perfect for this manuscript. Readers will most definitely admire the author's remarkable courage, strength, and resilience, as well as benefit from her candor. Those who are in similar circumstances, seeking hope that healing and freedom are possible, will be encouraged and empowered by this admirable woman's journey. Overall, this manuscript is well organized and well written. The narrative flows in a logical and coherent manner. The content is consistent and is quite clean, mechanically. So every now and then when I get a little nervous about where I put myself, I read that and I move on. We all know someone who's enduring some kind of abuse, and I stand in front of you today knowing very well the vulnerable position I put myself in by exposing such truth. but I also believe that I lived through the past 50 years to be able to be there for the people who are waiting for me now. It's only been 3 months since I received my first author's copy, and that's videoed as well. The feedback has been amazing, touching, affirming, and I'm honored that I've nudged so many people that are sharing from their hearts, the depths of their hearts and souls. I get texts and Facebook messages and face-to-face, and what's surprised me most, which brought on another group, is this senior man. They write to me and speak to me, and the basic message to me is, I now see the part I've played. Never did I dream that I would move 60 and 70-year-olds. This past month since my book launch, which was amazing, and I had Bikers Against Child Abuse come to support me. I have this really cute picture of all of us too. I told them I had to go and get one of those Harleys. So this woman, since that launch, she talked to me that night, and she came to me 3 times in 1 month. She's in her 70s, and she said my book gave her permission to cry for the first time in her life. And she's went to see a therapist, and she's bringing up her sexual abuse. And this week she told me she loved me. So it's just all the time, every day they get bigger and better, you know. And some of the readers, on my brochure, I put, you know, what readers are saying. And now I have to update that like weekly because they get better and better. So I just spoke at Bradford Hall this morning, and I said, one woman said, well, this is one woman, I am completely in awe of your current state of existence after now knowing your life experiences. And then I said, someone said it should be a movie. So while I was signing the book that the professor bought from me, I said, well, since we're here, who do you think should play me? We got Susan Sarandon, and it made me chuckle because my editor always says, Susan Sarandon has to play you. And then the next one was Julia Roberts. And I always wanted Julia Roberts. So I promise you one of those ladies are going to play in the movie. So anyway, when I talk, I nudge all of my listeners to research it, talk it, teach your young, volunteer, and or pledge. So will you please join me in doing what we can do to break the insidious cycle of domestic violence? Honor that nudge, and together we can make a difference. Thank you. One more thing too, I do have books. The first shipment of books were delivered to me, and probably 75 were already sold before I was told that there were typing or printing issues in them. So I shamed the printer. First they said that they will pay for the expense to return, so I don't have to shoulder the expense. I'm like, are you kidding me? Anyway, I shamed them into letting me keep them. So if there's someone in this room that has a benefit where I could donate some, I would be more than happy to do that. And at Bradford Hall just now, I offered the books to the students for $10 each. They're $23 normally. And the $10, all of that will go in the domestic violence awareness jar to go to Prudence Crandall. So thank you. Any questions? Yes, Rob.
I have a question.
Yes, dear.
I heard something about some kind of a walkathon or something next year. Could you kind of fill us in on that?
Thank you. On one of my meetings with the domestic violence, I had the privilege to meet Chief Gary McNamara out of Fairfield. And Fairfield this past May had their 2nd annual Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. And I said, I have to go see what this is about. Well, these powerful men who fight against domestic violence and part of the White Ribbon Campaign truly walk 1 mile in red high heels. I'm not kidding you. So I left that day so impressed. I was honored again to be around all these men who felt safe. That's not a common thing for me. And to see that they really live it and breathe it. And you know, the banners, and they had, just for their 2nd one, they had 385 walkers, and they raised $20,000. So I made it a point to say I'm bringing it to Southington. I've already met with Rob Flood, gave a wink. We need sponsorship. I met with John Myers, he's on board. I went to see Chief Daly. He sent me over to Officer Gallo. And Cheryl Lonsberry is excited. She wants to get involved. And Mary DeCroce, she was at, she bought my book Friday at Bloom Yoga. There was a little gathering there. And so the team is building, and we believe the walk will be like 1 hour before the parade starts, because the streets are already closed.
Apple Festival?
Yes, the festival, yes, sorry. The streets are already closed, the people are already sitting there, and they're just waiting and waiting. So, and I also invited bikers against child abuse again. So I'm hoping they could start us off, walk. Of course, it's a slow walk, which is a little hard for me to do because I walk daily, like 11-minute mile. And Prudence Crandall will be the beneficiary, and they're connected with Twisted Sisters, and they're a female bike group. So it's already starting to take some good form, and it's exciting. You can form teams, and there will be a website set up, and you can, and I believe it's a minimum of like $100, and that will get you a t-shirt and shoes. The headquarters does not give you much.
Are they high heels?
They are high heels, yes. At this last one, it was pretty cute. Some men even made capris. One man actually had sneakers, but he put wooden like stilts on them. He got best shoe. Then there was another young man. You gotta go on my website, caseymorley.com, scroll down. There's another one, he came in drag. He really had Frederick's high heels on, you know? And one of my clients happened to work with him, and she said he practiced for 3 days. And he had a little black skirt, he had a red wig, and I got a picture of him. I said, you gotta give me some legs, so there he is, you know, like this. Yes?
I have to tell you the story. My last hospital out in New York State, we had a rape crisis program called RISE, Rape Prevention, something education, sexuality education. So we had to walk a mile in your shoes. So for the last 2 years, I walked in that, and I used my cowboy boots, and my wife reupholstered them in red fabric. So I had these big high boots, and I was absolutely the hit of the parade.
Exactly.
So since I moved here, I donated those boots to the Rise Walk, and they're going to use them next year as like the symbol of the walk.
Right.
And everybody's wearing high heels, and I asked this one guy, where did you find high heels that fit you like that? He says, oh, crossdresser.com.
Oh,
Of course.
Yeah, up to size 15.
Right.
Actually, though, Walk a Mile shoes, they do have a link to buy shoes. And Bernie is his name. And I'm told, I thought the men bought them individually, but I was just taught that we would buy them, and they're loaned out to you, and then to you, and then they come back, so that you would be paying over, you know, that's how the, yes?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. Everybody here knows that I'm a pediatrician. So I get to see some of these patients. And that the effects, the long-term effects on living in a home where there's violence and you are fearful that you don't know if you're going to get molested or beat up or whatever, shortens your life. They have, as they grow up, they have a greater likelihood to get chronic diseases such as cancer and high blood pressure and diabetes and all of that stuff. And then there's one story which I have not told this club before, but I had a patient a long time ago that the father would punish the child by taking a Zippo lighter and opening it halfway and lighting it, and then when it got good and hot, he would push it on the kid's hand as a punishment. And the child got admitted to the hospital, and we called protective services and whatever, and the father's comment was, what's wrong with doing that? My father did it to me, and he shows the scar on the palm of his hand, and he said, and when my father died, I got the lighter. So this gives you an idea of how this gets perpetuated from generation to generation.
Exactly right. And it's worse than you can imagine. If, like I said, if you go on my website, you pick any of those resource pages, every one will make your belly sick. because they get worse as you go. And my story does share my trail of physical. I have actually, Brittany and we have a picture. There's a picture of me in my 20s. I'm a little bit chubbier than this. And then there's a picture of me in my 40s. I was 250 pounds. I had everything going. I was high blood pressure, endocrinology issues for 40 years. Sick. You could tell by in that picture that I'm going to die soon. So thank goodness I got it all up and out, reprogrammed my brain, cleared up the candida, and I'll be 62 in January, never been healthier. And I know I got 30 more years.
In honor of all of our speakers, we donate a book to one of the local school libraries. So this one's called Humphrey's Farm Adventure. So this is going to be donated to one of the Southington schools. If you want to name.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you again for coming. All right, everyone.